What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the JCP End Zone Perspective podcast. And as I check my old trusty friend here, the watch, it says 2:07 Central Time on a Thursday, which can only mean the college football show is back. Yes, indeed, it is, my friends. So, with that being said, Chooch, where's the other one?
Oh, so like we were saying earlier before internet so rudely interrupted us, there's a lot of space for activities here, isn't there?
Yeah,
Like a
I
lot more
mean,
than usual. It's kind of weird.
I don't. Where's the
Where's
J?
Oh, right. So folks, if you weren't watching yesterday, this man he told us today that he pivoted and dislocated his knee.
Yes.
It's disgusting. I don't know how this man did what he did and how viciously he turned or whatever, but it looks like it hurt. So Jacob, hope you feel better.
Get better, brother. But as the old saying goes, the show must go on, and indeed it will. And we promise to deliver on 3 times the fun. Because we are going to have a stack show for all of you. A lot of great matchups on this week 7 card. And, obviously you didn't tune in to hear me just talk and talk and talk about nothing. Let's talk about college football, why you all are actually here. So, with that being said, the first matchup, we got a Big 12 game to kick us off. The West Virginia Mountaineers, 4-1, by the way. Um, don't know when the last time I was able to say that has been. It's been a while. Taking on the Houston Cougars, who are 2-3, and as you can see down below, thanks to Chooch, who did a phenomenal job with the banners. 2-0 in conference play for West Virginia, 0-2 in conference play for Houston. They need this win massively, not to mention next week Texas comes knocking on the door, and if you saw what happened last week, it didn't go very well for the Horns, but we will get there. Anyways, Chooch, this is a big game for West Virginia. They need this game to solidify their spot in the Big 12 and keep chasing that ever elusive Big 12 title, bring it home to Morgantown. But Houston stands in their way, and they are looking to wreck after the disappointing loss a week ago at Texas Tech. Can they do it? What do you say?
Listen, Mountaineers have been playing good enough football to win games. Now the offense is very even, 155 passing yards per game and 191 rushing yards per game, but the defense is what stands out here. West Virginia's defense plays better all-around defense than Houston's does, but Houston is a team you don't want to sleep on. I think West Virginia struggles to get going on the road here in Houston, but at the end of the day, I think West Virginia just has a little bit more and is more comfortable in games like this. So I'm taking the Mountaineers in a close one.
All right, Mountaineers. I'm gonna go the opposite side of the fence here. I think Houston is pissed off after last week and just getting embarrassed in Lubbock. And I think this come home game against a West Virginia team that has a lot to worry about in terms of the Big 12. They might even be looking ahead because you see Houston, you see that 2-3 record, and you're just like, whatever, we'll beat them. We'll show up, we'll win. It's not going to be much of a contest. And then you get there, and it's like, oh, they can play football. Um, so not to mention, I mean, this game kind of looks like a trap game, and if it's not this week, next week is even scary too against Oklahoma State because they're so unpredictable. So this is going to be a fight till the finish, and I think ultimately Houston just has one bigger play that ends up getting them the dub here. So give me the Cougs at home. All right, next game here, we got a fun one. Tulane and Memphis. And let's just say these two teams are exactly mirror images of each other if you think about it. Both 4-1, both 1-0 in conference. But this game is critical for both of these teams if they want to make maybe even a New Year's Six Bowl that has been thrown around a little bit between these two teams. You never know at this stage in the season. With that being considered, though, Memphis seems to be the better team and has a little bit of the edge because it's at their home. However, Vegas, they don't care about that. Tulane is a 4.5 point road favorite, and they really trust Pratt to continue to get this offense rolling. Chooch, I know you followed both of these teams relatively close. Who gets the win here?
Listen, Memphis is good, and Hennigan is a hell of a quarterback, and I like everything they're doing now. This reminds us of yeah,
Oh,
Memphis.
wow.
Wow, Memphis a few years ago where they were good. Offense was able to air it out, and the defense could take not the defense. The running game could take care of it no matter what. The defense is always good here in Memphis. But end of the day, Tulane lost a close one to Ole Miss. I know everyone's probably like, oh, 37-20. Ole Miss scored one in garbage time. They would have lost by 10. So, and Tulane was in that game for 3 halves of the game. So, three and a half way through the fourth of the game.
Right.
Yeah, there we go. But I'm taking Tulane this one. Something's telling me the green wave. I'm gonna ride it. Take it Tulane.
Man, I like what both of these programs have been doing. They're both, extremely talented, don't really get the recognition that they should. Um, I think Tulane's going to come out in this game, and I think they're going to be explosive out the gate. But I think Memphis weathers the storm at home and does enough to beat Tulane. But this is going to be another, if you're not doing anything on a Friday and, 6 o'clock rolls around, turn this game on because it is going to be, a fun one. Back and forth, two really great teams, two really well coached, disciplined teams. But I think Memphis gets it done just mainly because it's at home. All right, moving on to the Saturday slate as we were covering Thursday and Friday. Let's get into the kickoff in the Big Ten. Indiana comes rolling into Michigan. If Jacob were here, he'd say Michigan by a million. In case you didn't know that, he's a pretty big Michigan homer. But with all that being considered, Indiana, not the season you want to have. You're 2-3, and one of your big wins, quote unquote big wins, came in 4 overtimes against Akron. Yeah, this team has fallen on some tough times, and this looks like a massacre waiting to happen. Michigan, of course, undefeated and at home. The run game has been dominant. The passing game has been the real eye opener. JJ McCarthy has been safe with the ball for the most part. I know only 3 picks, over 1,000 yards, and 11 TDs. But be careful. There is a point, not per se recently, but there is still that lingering feeling in Indiana to where they could do something, they could shock the world. Can they do it this week, Chooch? What do you think?
No, listen, Indiana, you're going to be there for maybe a quarter, but this Michigan team is playing probably the best football Michigan's played in like 20 years right now. This is a very dangerous team and a very fun team to watch. So I'm taking the Wolverines here. I don't think this one's close. I think they kind of repeat what they did to Minnesota last week. And Michigan is just kind of rolling and rolling and rolling until it gets a little tougher here in a week or two.
Good pick, good pick. Michigan wins this one, and I don't even think it's competitive for more than a minute 30. Michigan gets the ball first. They score on the first drive. Indiana throws a pick six, and from there, just boom, runaway train continues. And no, who's gonna stop this Michigan team? That's my question. They truly look like the best team in college football right now. Maybe Georgia, but I don't know. Michigan is really close. If they don't at least, make it to the big game this year, I will be surprised. All right, moving on to the next one here. We got a fun one in West Lafayette. Ohio State comes marching into town to take on the Purdue Boilermakers. Ohio State undefeated, and their last week People doubted them. They said, "You're going to lose to Maryland." I was one of those people, and they ended up winning by 20. Ohio State's a big road favorite here, 19.5 points, and for good reason. They're very well balanced. Their defense is pretty good. As a matter of fact, in all their games, picture this, they have only given up, this was their max total on the year. Out of the well, I shouldn't say, well, yeah, on the year, out of the last 5 games, 17 points was their highest that they gave up, and that was a week ago. But remember something. The last time Ohio State was undefeated, they rolled into West Lafayette. Everybody picked Ohio State to dominate. Rondell Moore went off, and Purdue dominated Ohio State last time. Can the Cinderella story happen once again this year, Chooch? What do you think?
So every part of me wants to say yes with this one. We all know Ohio State struggles whenever they go to Purdue. It's kind of like Clemson when they head to Syracuse once in a while, or Georgia Tech. But that being said, I don't think Purdue's quite at the point that team was a couple years ago to beat Ohio State in Purdue. I think Ohio State decides to come alive here in the third quarter of this game, and they walk away with this one, kind of echoing the Maryland game. So I'm taking the Buckeyes.
Well, folks, I got a story. Last time these two played in West Lafayette, I was in high school. And it was, this is a funny story, and it relates because, let's just say Purdue made me look smart. So thank you, Purdue. I told people Purdue is going to upset Ohio State, and it happened, and they dominated them. I also got my phone taken away for sending a text because of this game, so take that for what it is. I'm here to tell you the same story. Fast forward 4 or 5 years, however many it's been, Purdue is gonna upset Ohio State in West Lafayette. They got the offense to do it. The defense does scare me. I'm not gonna lie to you. They're not really all there, but I think this is gonna be a shootout game, and Purdue shocks Ohio State. It's not gonna be as convincing as last time, but they will win this time. Give me the Boilermakers. All right, next one here. We got an ACC clash. Syracuse versus the Seminoles of Florida State, undefeated, number 4 in the land. And for Syracuse, their 2 losses came in ACC games. They have struggled tremendously. Against Clemson, they got absolutely handed. And then UNC was not the remedy they desired, to put things nicely, as that was 40-7. Florida State, they've had their struggles. They barely squeaked by Boston College. They barely squeaked by Clemson, and then they had a wake-up moment last week at home against Virginia Tech. They won that one 39-17. Jordan Travis has been the story for the Noles. 12 touchdowns, 1 interception, about to hit 1,200 yards, literally 2 yards away from it. But they got a challenger who's a little bit more well-versed, at least statistically. Syracuse has done a good job of being able to run the football, spread you out with the pass, but also keep in mind that losing streak does no favors in this game. Not to mention, in Tallahassee, Florida State's a 17.5-point favorite. I know you're a Syracuse guy to some degree, Chooch, but are you giving them hope against the running train?
I would like to for about the first quarter, but like you said, FSU struggled a little bit to get the gates here. But I think Syracuse's, I think Schrader's inability to take care of the ball at the quarterback position is what's going to hurt them this game. And Florida State capitalizes. I don't think this one's going to be close. Seminoles by a lot.
How can you go against that? That's the logic. I mean, Florida State big in this one too. Syracuse is just having a season throwing it away. I mean, they were having a tremendous start and then just wham, ran right into the wall, and let's just say it's only getting worse from here. It was fun though. It was fun for 4 weeks. Not so much anymore. Knowles by a lot, as you put it. All right, next game here. We got Iowa. Wow, okay, I went a little too far.
A little
Let's bring
excited there,
it
bro.
back a little bit. Michigan State and Rutgers, a Big Ten battle. Michigan State still in complete shock disarray. Mel Tucker finally got fired, but there's still an ongoing saga with some cases that are still being unanswered. And let's just say there might be quite a few lawsuits still to be discovered for this Michigan State team. Rutgers, on the other hand, this might be huge for them. They lost to Wisconsin last week by 9 in Camp Randall, but they showed fight. They showed some promise. They looked somewhat better than most people would have expected. I thought they were going to get whopped. That did not happen. On top of that, Michigan State, I mean, what is there good to say? I'm trying to make something up. There really isn't. You lost to Iowa by 10 in Kinnick, and you're a 4.5 point dog on the road. Could this be the point, Chooch, where Michigan State's players get fed up with the news? They get fed up with how the season's going, and they say, "Screw it, we're winning one for Sparty."
I think you gotta wait for Sparty to return home to Sparty for that one. I think Rutgers is just playing too good of football right now. Listen, they only lost by 11 to Wisconsin. It's not like Wisconsin's a great team, but Wisconsin's definitely better than what Michigan State has. Kim can't take care of the ball. One pass for literally one interception he's thrown this year. Um, and Rutgers is just playing better football in general, I believe. So I'm taking Rutgers here in a closer game than people think it's going to be. But Rutgers or I think it's going to be more than 6, but less than 10.
Okay,
There.
so somewhere in that range.
Yeah, somewhere in that range of. I mean, you could have blown them out, but
I think Rutgers starts this game on fire, and they're up by like 17 at half, and then Michigan State is going to fight back, really make it scary, and then Rutgers wins this one by like 13. So I'm kind of in the same ballpark there with you. It's not going to be what it could be, but at the same token, it's still a win for Rutgers. So yeah, give me the Scarlet Knights in this one. Now to the one that I was going to talk about here, the Big 12 matchup. It's so weird. I'm still not used to Cincy and UCF and BYU and who's the other? Houston in the Big 12. But this is a Big 12 matchup, contrary to popular belief. Or I should say my own belief. Anyways, Iowa State comes in after a big win last year, or wow, I can't speak today. Forgive me, folks. Last week against TCU. This was their first win since beating TCU in conference, I should say, not their actual first win, but a big road win against TCU. And then on top of that, they come in with momentum. 3-3 and looking to right the ship that was looking to be sinking early. Cincinnati, on the other hand, their ship is currently sinking. They need anything to patch the holes. And last week sure did not help the cause when they went on the road to BYU and just a heartbreaker in that one. Can they bounce back and get this win, Chooch? What do you think?
Yeah, listen, Cincinnati is a good team. They only allowed Oklahoma to score 20, so the defense is good. And the offense is almost 500 yards a game, 490 yards of offense per game, 269 passing, 220 rushing. This team's good, and I'm taking Cincinnati here. I think the offense is just a little too good for Iowa State's defense to keep them in this one. So I'm taking the Bearcats here, folks.
All right, I'm going to go with you here. I think Cincinnati finally starts to find a a little bit of sustainability in this game, and this is kind of the shifting point in their season. So yeah, give me the Bearcats, and it's at home. And Iowa State is not a world beater, especially in the Big 12. So yeah, give me Cincy. Oh, what oh well, all right.
Hi.
I'm not.
I pressed the wrong window on my computer. That's on me. Let
All
me get the
good. That
banners. We
was
are
a
there.
weird one. So we got Georgia Southern and James Madison here, a battle between the two teams. It's 9 wins and 1 loss this season. Pretty good for their conference. And let's hope that it stays that way. James Madison is a 6-point favorite at home. They would love to be 6-0 and continue the tremendous firestorm that they came in last year. They were ranked last year. They had a lot of people jumping at their program, and they could continue that flow with a win here against Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern, their only loss came against Wisconsin this year, and since then, they have looked pretty good. They beat Coastal Carolina by 10. They harmed Ball State 40-3, and they have changed their philosophy a little bit on offense. It used to be that run triple option style. Now they get it done through the air. It's a lot to prepare for, this Georgia Southern team. Will James Madison be ready, Chooch?
Yeah, and it's funny because this Georgia Southern team was a team that 2 years ago fired their head coach, and
I
now
believe
look at
you're
them.
right.
They're 4-1, and they're playing an undefeated JMU team in James Madison at Bridgeforth Stadium. Listen, walking in here is one of the toughest places to play it outside the group of 5. In the group of 5, this is one of the toughest teams to play. This game's going to be a fun one. I think JMU just barely prevails at home. I think Georgia Southern makes this one a fight, and they kind of remind the Dukes that, hey, this was our conference first. Well, it was App State's first, but you can't just come in here and win it all the time, guy. But Dukes.
All right. I think this is going to come down to overtime, as a matter of fact. Very close, hard hitting, physical football, but James Madison gets the edge in overtime. I think it goes 2 overtimes. So it just kind of comes down to, again, that one play at the goal line that just separates these two teams. But no, Sunbelt football has been tremendously fun to watch, especially with the addition of JMU. So give me the Dukes in this one. All right, next one here, we got a Pac-12 battle, California and Utah. Utah's an 11 and a half point favorite at home here, and they have been looking pretty good all season. And then last week, they go on the road to Corvallis, lose to Oregon State, and they only put up 7 points. There might be a little bit of cause for concern for this Utah team. Cal, on the other hand, they're doing Cal things. They're staying in games, fighting, keeping it close, but just not having enough to get over the top and really compete for the Pac-12. But they could still play season record against Utah if they're able to get this win in Salt Lake. Chooch, will they be able to get this win, or will it be the Utes?
If Cal's defense can keep this Utah offense off balance long enough, Cal can win this game. Utah's offense is already struggling without Rising there. And honestly, this Utah team isn't the same without Rising at quarterback. But these guys need to get the time and play now, so they might as well just learn it now. So this kind of helps them for the future at the same time. But at the end of the day, I think Utah is just a little too good for Cal. Yeah, Cal's on the come up, but Utah's going to kind of, all right, we lost last week. Let's get back to it. So I'm taking the Utes in a closer game than everyone expects.
We're on the same page today. I mean,
Good.
Utah wins this one, and it's going to be close because Cal has just that, the defense, they struggle and then they're good. They struggle, then they're good. They don't have consistency. And then the offense, on the other hand, they only had one game that looked really bad, and that was that late night showdown against Auburn. But aside from that, they have really changed some things, or maybe the quarterback kind of took it to heart. Something happened in this offense that's like, all right, we're gonna score now. We're gonna give our team a chance to win whatever game we're in. And I think that mentality sticks, but ultimately Utah gets it done. All right, now we got an SEC battle. Texas A&M goes on the road to Rocky Top to take on the Volunteers of Tennessee. Both of these teams already with one conference loss, and of course Tennessee's came in Gainesville to the Gators. Texas A&M last week to the Crimson Tide of Alabama, and honestly, a game that they could have won.
Whew.
They had so many chances in that game to get it done in Tuscaloosa, but they could not. Tennessee, on the other hand, since the Florida loss, they have been shooting up. They beat UTSA and easily took care of South Carolina. They got the revenge, to say the least. Tennessee's a 3-point favorite, and this is kind of that Vegas line that nobody knows what is going to happen. It would not shock anybody, I think, if Texas A&M or Tennessee won this game, but Chooch, who wants it more and who solidifies their claim in their respective brands, the West or the East?
So A&M's last road game was against Miami, in which they lost. Tennessee is a way harder place to play than Miami. But Tennessee's playing a lot better. Tennessee A&M's playing a lot better football right now. But Tennessee's just, I think, a step quicker than this A&M team. I think A&M's going to struggle on the road here. I think that's all of Jimbo's issues this year is games on the road. So I'm taking Tennessee here.
All right, going with the Vols. And yeah, sorry, folks. Thank you for catching that. I said in T Town. That was in Aggieland last week. Um, there's something different in the air today. I don't know what it is. But anyways, Texas A&M, I think Jimbo Fisher feels the heat in that hot chair, and he's like, I better do something or I'm completely done. So I think that alone is going to be the changing factor here of why Texas A&M wins over Tennessee. Give me the Aggies. All right, next one here we got Kansas and Oklahoma State. The wild Big 12 continues being wild. Kansas, they have completely shifted their focus. They used to be the basketball school that everybody just said, all right, they'll maybe win a national title in basketball or a few. Bill Self's the man there. And now we're saying they're good at football and they're good at basketball. Kind of a weird time to be a Jayhawks fan. Oklahoma State, on the other hand, they're kind of mediocre at everything. Mike Gundy has been there for about 18 years, and it's been the same story relatively for Gundy. You have some moments of greatness, you have some moments of disappointment, and it's kind of the mediocre stick in the Big 12. Can they figure it out for the rest of the season is the main question. This game will go a lot into if they will or if they won't. Kansas is a 3-point road favorite. What do you say, Chooch?
Um, Simple. I don't think Oklahoma. I think Gundy needs to go after this year. No matter what, you've been there too long. You have no results. This school is uncomfortably okay with going 8-4 every year. Maybe they should be called 8-4. Cole, 7-5.
Okay.
Oklahoma 7-5. There we go.
Oklahoma 7-5.
Bam.
Get it trending.
Kansas, the offense is just too good for you for this Oklahoma State defense. I think Kansas's offense is going to explode over top of this Oklahoma State defense. So I'm taking the Rochester by a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Kansas, my big question was how would they come back after getting, killed by Texas? And then the answer was pretty clear. They dropped 51 on UCF. So I don't think this train is stopping anytime soon. Kansas comes into Stillwater and absolutely destroys Oklahoma State. All right, next one here, we got BYU and TCU. This game kind of intriguing because BYU is 4-1. TCU, on the other hand, man, it's quite the descent from being in the national championship game a year ago. They're on a losing streak so far, 2 games in a row, losing to West Virginia and Iowa State, and really lot of questions at what is going wrong here. Vegas doesn't seem to care, though. TCU's a 6-point favorite at home. They say they're going to bounce back and beat and stomp out the hope of this BYU season. However, BYU might have something to say about that. Their only loss came to Kansas, and since that loss, they had a rather close game against Cincinnati. They seem to maybe have figured some things out, but they have not figured out the defense. They're still averaging over 208.4 yards through the air allowed and only 152.4 rushing yards allowed. Meanwhile, their rush offense is 62.8. They're very one-dimensional, and that can come back to kick you in a game like this, especially against Sonny Dykes. Chooch, who gets this win?
So, fun fact for all you kids and kittens out there, right? Ready to hear something cool? This is the 3rd conference these two schools have been in and only the 12th time they've played.
Wow.
They were in the conference together in the WAC, the Mountain West back in the day, and now in the Big 12. At the end of the day, like you said, one-dimensional here. I think that hurts this BYU team, but how good is this TCU secondary? Did we put to the test today? Saturday.
Words are hard today.
Very hard today. But this is a game BYU can lose, but this is also a game TCU has a habit of losing. So I'm going to play it safe here and go with the Horned Frogs. I
had me there.
I think they outlast BYU, and BYU's one-dimensional offense, just like you said, against Sonny Dykes, ain't the way to go.
Well, I agree with you. I think TCU is going to do enough in this game to pull it out, and you're not going to end up winning a game like this if you're one-dimensional. I mean, I don't think so. I don't think TCU is just somebody you can walk all over and do, only throwing the ball. So if BYU doesn't figure out that run game, it's going to be a long, long game and a long road trip. So give me TCU, not to mention, I think this crowd is going to play a huge factor in this game, too. I still believe that they love the progress that Dykes has made there, and I think they're going to show it. So give me TCU. All right, next one here, we got an SEC East battle. Florida and South Carolina. Beamer ball to the moon was the phrase all off season, and now it might be Beamer ball gets sent to the moon. There's a slight difference in that phrase. South Carolina 2-3 with some heartbreaking losses coming from North Carolina, and that Georgia game, they played good for a half, They just couldn't find any rhythm after that first half. And then their last loss came against Tennessee in that revenge game, and let's just say they were not prepared for Rocky Top. Florida, on the other hand, after getting kicked by Kentucky, they come back and they end up beating Vanderbilt 38-14. The offense looked like the Florida offense we saw against Tennessee. They were passing the ball well, they were running the ball well, everything looked fluent, and the defense, too, only holding Vanderbilt to 14 points. South Carolina's a 2-point favorite. I honestly don't know why. But that is what the line says, so we will salute the line here. What do you got, Jude?
So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I'm going to take South Carolina for the fact that I think this Florida team struggles more on the road than people want to make note of. I think this game's close, but I think South Carolina has control of this game all night long. I think they win this one, and I just think Florida's getting there. We're seeing the glimpses of what can be there, but it's just the road. The road's too much for the Gators, man. They just too much land, not enough swimming.
All right, I like that. I like the reasoning there. I think the South Carolina crowd, they're going to be up and at 'em. I mean, they always are. If you watch a South Carolina home game, it's loud, it's rowdy, it's crazy. Um, but I think Florida right now, after that Vandy game, I think they found their footing. Graham Mertz has been playing a lot better than I ever thought he would, especially at this point in the season. And it just seems like they're really finding a flow on offense to where South Carolina, they're just too unpredictable for me because it's weird. I picked both of I picked one of their losses. I picked UNC. Um, that week I took South Car, and that was week one. And then Georgia, I was close to picking them, and I picked Georgia, and Georgia won. And then last week I picked Tennessee, and Tennessee won. So the point that I'm getting at is in South Carolina games, I either pick South Carolina and I lose, or I pick against South Carolina and I win. So we're going to keep that trend. Give me the Gators here. All right, next one here. We got a Big Ten battle as the Iowa Hawkeyes take on the Badgers in Camp Randall. 9.5-point favorite is the Wisconsin Badgers. This game is a 3 o'clock Central Time kickoff, and it is a massive game for the Iowa Hawkeyes and Wisconsin alike. Luke Fickell could really use this win to keep on the push for the Big Ten title possibility. And Iowa kind of in that same boat, except for Iowa. If they win this game, they will probably be back in the top 25. So they might even be chasing the national title picture if they continue and win out, which is unlikely if you see what Brian Ferenz does. But that's another story for another time. Iowa, their story, their defense, really good. Their offense, man, it hasn't changed much. Still pretty ugly. Wisconsin, on the other hand, their offense looks pretty good, but their pass defense is something to be desired. Chooch, I know you like Luke Fickell, and you know as well as I do, Madison can get crazy, especially when that jump around is playing. Will it be a fun night for the Badgers fans, or will they get sent home upset? What do you think?
So Wisconsin's only loss is to the second best team in the state of Washington, the Cougars of Wazoo, and that's probably a more athletic team than what Wisconsin's seen all year, and then what Iowa's seen all year. Um, Iowa got blanked by Penn State. Wisconsin's not a better team than Penn State, but I think the defense is better. I think Iowa struggles against tougher Big Ten opponents. Continues. Luke Fickell notches a big win in the belt here and notches a big win in the race for the Big Ten West. So give me the Badgers at home.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with you because Wisconsin, they have an offense. Iowa does not have an offense. And if you don't have an offense, you can't score. So, I mean, technically, you could get pick sixes and fumble sixes, but that's not going to sustain you to win a game. So, give me Wisconsin in this one. They win this game. And I think, honestly, they score 35. Not because the Iowa defense is bad, but when you're out there 85% of the game, you're going to get tired. So Wisconsin eventually opens up this Iowa team and gets a win. All right, moving on here, we got an ACC matchup. The Louisville Cardinals go on the road to take on the Pitt Panthers, and it's really a tale of two opposite seasons. For Louisville, you're undefeated, you're number 14 in the land, you're 3-0 in conference play, you just had a big win a week ago against Notre Dame. Everything is coming up Louisville. For Pitt, you're 1-4. You're 0-2 in conference play. Things could not be looking much worse. And not to mention, you lost to West Virginia, aka your biggest rival. So, yeah, that kind of sucks. Louisville's a 7.5 point favorite. Honestly, you kind of thought the line would be bigger. Does somebody know something that we don't? Louisville, like I said, red hot. Jeff Brom's got this place believing. Can it continue, or will this eerie atmosphere, this Pitt team that nobody has seen coming along, do they piece it together here and shock the world? They do have a somewhat of a history of doing it, Chooch. Will it happen this time around?
So I really, really want to say Louisville's going to come in here. They're going to walk all over Pitt, and that they're going to do their thing, and that Pitt's going to shock them. Well, you know what, folks? Pitt's going to do everything they can to shock this team, and they're going to lose. Cardinals going to win. Louisville's going to continue their hot. Listen, there's too much to like about this Louisville team. Plummer's playing fantastic football. Jordan, hell of a running back. And then Thrash, the ball's getting to everyone, but Thrash is the leading receiver. I got to give Plummer his due here. The kid's playing fantastic football. This is the best quarterback Louisville's ever had as an all-around quarterback. So, Cardinals.
Man, I think this game is going to be a battle for 4 quarters. I think Pitt is sick and tired of how this season has went. Like I mentioned, losing to, your worst rival, that's bad too. And then on top of that, to have a 4 game losing streak and you hear all the negativity about the program, I think this is where the script changes. They stick in for 4 quarters till the 10-minute mark. And then Louisville, it breaks their heart again. And the trend continues for Pittsburgh. So give me Louisville and Brom. And like you were mentioning, Plummer. Oh my goodness. What a job he's done. And he does not get the credit that he should.
No, he doesn't.
So give me these Cardinals to keep flying high in the ACC. And I would love, I'm just going to say this now, love to see this ACC team, Louisville, wins the ACC. I don't know if it'll happen. I don't know if they're necessarily there. I know it's year one of Brom, but man, would it be cool to see them hoist that trophy.
Well, they got to play Florida State in a few weeks, I think. So we'll really know then, I believe, because I
That's
think they're
true.
both in the Coastal. So
All right, moving on to a Pac-12 matchup, Arizona and Washington State. Washington State's been pretty good this season, 4-1. However, 1-1 in conference play, and that loss column grew to 1 a week ago when they went on the road to play in the Rose Bowl against UCLA in Pasadena. And Chip Kelly was ready for him. Cam Ward, some Washington State fans were saying was the blame for this loss. I don't know if you necessarily can blame it all on one player, but fans will be fans. On the other side of things, Arizona last 2 weeks have been losses to Washington and USC, but here's where it gets weird. They lost to Washington by 7, and then they lost to USC by 2 in 3 overtimes. They are on the cusp of pulling something like this off. However, Vegas does not seem scared. Washington State's an 8-point favorite. They say Cam Ward and company bounce back. Nobody's really paying any attention to Arizona. Is this the time, Chooch, where Arizona strikes? What do you say?
Give it like one more week, I think. I think Washington State's a little bit hungry. They're like, all right, one conference loss, kick it off the board. We're gonna go out and do this now. We gotta play good, perfect football until we play Washington later this year. So Wazoo's gonna come out. They're gonna do their thing, but this is gonna be a close game. I think 8 points is a little much here. I think this is within the 3, and Wazoo wins it late in the game. Cougs.
I'm going to quote Mike Leach when he used to coach Washington State. This was one of the things he said at a press conference. He said, Butch is tricky, and he'll find a way to win.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said, Washington State, this is going to be, like Chooch said, it's going to be very close. But Washington State will find a way to win this game late. So yeah, give me the Cougs and Cam Ward. Ultimately, that offense is just good enough to pull a game like this out. But Arizona, hats off to you. I mean, you've been playing your hearts out, and sorry for another devastating defeat. All right, next one here in the SEC. Auburn goes on the road to Death Valley to take on the Tigers of LSU. And Auburn coming off of a bye week, mind you. 2 weeks ago, they played Georgia, only lost by 7 to the number 1 team in the land. Now they come in hungry, refreshed off of a bye week to take on an LSU team that the defense still has a lot of questions. They answered some of them as they got 2 picks against Missouri and Major Burns with the exclamation point pick 6 to end off the undefeated Missouri Tigers. The story isn't the offense for LSU, it's the defense. Can they get it good enough to defeat a Hugh Freeze-led Auburn Tigers? With that being said, Auburn's passing offense, not very good. Only 156 averaged from game to game. Their running team is where it's been, over 200 yards per game. So that'll be the question. Again, can this Auburn team continue to run an effective offense against LSU and outscore the Tigers? Or will it be Jaden Daniels and those great wide receivers and Logan Diggs pulling this one out? Chooch, you get the first crack.
If the Auburn team that shows up last week shows up in this game, LSU might be in trouble. But with that being said, that's asking a lot of this team, not the coach of the team at Auburn. I just think I think our defense is starting to come around a little bit. I think a couple guys getting hurt earlier in the year, and then us not having Brooks and all this stuff with Brooks has kind of messed with some guys, and they finally figured it out late in the game. I'm not saying that's. I'm just hoping that's what it is. I think LSU edges this one out, Cole. I think Auburn just a little bit too inconsistent quarterback play. The O-line's inconsistent at times. We got to see how our defensive line gets pressure on this team, though. But I'm taking the Tigers. LSU Tigers. The Go Tigers. not the War Chicken Eagle thing that was over there in Auburn.
Oh, man. I mean, this is the definition of the Tiger Bowl, quite literally. And it's weird because LSU, had 2 Tiger Bowls, if you really think about it. You had Missouri last week. Now you got Auburn this week, except this one can fly, apparently. War Eagle Tiger thing. I don't know. Man, I think this game is a lot closer than people think. And it always seems to be. So I think Auburn's gonna come out and they're gonna run their style. They have some really good running backs who can, contribute a lot to their attack. But it kind of reminds me almost of the BYU situation here. Just kind of vice versa though. BYU was a really good passing team. Auburn's a really good rushing team. I don't think Auburn can throw the ball well enough to win a game like this. So give me the Tigers of LSU to win the Tiger Bowl here. All right, next one here we got Marshall and Georgia State. This game is kind of exciting if you think about it. Again, what is it with the Sun Belt and performing in these games that we're seeing? Marshall didn't have things go their way though last week. They put up 41 and still lost to NC State as they lost by 7. Georgia State, on the other hand, that was their first loss a week ago too. They lost to Troy, and that Troy team was motivated to finally shut up the bad season that they were having. Georgia State needs this win, so does Marshall. Chooch, who gets this win?
So I really want to say Georgia State here. There's a lot to like about this team, but also there's a lot to like about Marshall. I like Fancher at quarterback. Yeah, he's got 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, but a lot have been tip balls or drops. And I really just like the balance. That is, well, not really balance, but I guess 100 yards passing is more than running. But you get what I'm saying. 156 yards in the ground per game isn't bad, especially in a conference that's kind of notoriously hard to run in like that. So I'm taking Marshall's defense here, though, to prevail over Georgia State. I got something about the herd, something about green this week. The green wave, now the herd. So I'm taking Marshall.
All right, going with Marshall. Man, I don't know where to go. This is such a close battle that could really go either way. Um, Honestly, let me open up the coin flip app here because it's such a 50-50 battle.
I haven't had to use that
Um,
all year.
yeah, I know. This is the first time we're doing this, so let's get this out here. Heads, I'll go Georgia State. Tails, I'll go Marshall. Here we go. I wish I could show it on screen. And it's heads. All right. I'm going Georgia State to win this game. I think Granger will have a bounce back week too. Because he is a really good quarterback that just doesn't really get the recognition. And he's really safe with the ball. Like I said, I know, losing 28-7, that hurts, but I think they get back on track here. Speaking of getting back on track, Miami, what happened last week?
Crystal ball.
You had, well, yeah, I mean,
That's what happened.
I tried to, tell you guys he's not a great coach, but
He did.
don't listen to me. I'm just the guy with the microphone that doesn't know too much. Anyways, they ran the football and fumbled it. Georgia Tech gets it late. They score a touchdown. They make the PAT, or actually, that's a lie. They took a knee on the PAT. And then they squib kick it. And the worst play I have ever seen in any sort of football happens with Miami on that last play. They throw it around on an attempt of a hook and lateral, but somebody forgot to tell them that in order for a hook and lateral to be successful, you have to go up the field. I know it's a crazy concept. And they run into Chapel Hill to take on the North Carolina Tar Heels. And North Carolina, they're they're kind of good. They have this guy named Drake May who's pretty good to say, to say the least. Might be the second quarterback taken in the draft, might even be the first. We don't know. But he is sure doing a lot to keep that draft stock going higher, and he's really doing a lot to help out Mac Brown keep this record the way it is. Oh, Chooch, would you mind changing the graphic there?
Oh, sorry. I
All
was
good.
looking at the UNC notes. My bad.
UNC 5-0. Miami 4-1. Miami desperately needs this game to get back in center stage and on the right path. UNC needs this game to keep their national championship aspirations and ACC title aspirations alive. A lot of fun in the ACC. Can it be done, Chooch? Where are you going?
So I think Van Dyke comes in and kind of is like, well, it wasn't my fault. Bam. Even though Crystal Ball said it was his fault, but we all
Which
knew that
doesn't make
already.
sense.
We all knew that already. But at the same time, Van Dyke's going to come in, do his thing. But at the end of the day, I just think Drake May's ability to put the ball wherever he pleases is going to be struggle for this Miami defense, and I think it's just enough. I think it keeps them off balance. I think UNC, and I think the run game for UNC has a big day today. So I'm going to take not today, Saturday. Tar Heels, go.
All right. So Miami fans, I told you Mario Cristobal is not the guy. He's not great, and it was so nice to see it on public display on the late night game. So with that being said, North Carolina, Drake May, this offense, and the defense comes together. They only allowed 10 points in this game, is my wild take. Sorry, Van Dyke. I love you as a quarterback. I think you're really good, but this North Carolina team, they want more than just the ACC, in my opinion. And I think this is going to be a huge step to secure that. So give me the Tar Heels and Matt Brown. All right, next game here we got Wyoming and Air Force.
Wyoming and Air Force.
Pizza Burrito, we see you. How you doing, buddy? All right. But Wyoming 5-1 in this game, or in this game on the season. I'm sorry, folks. I don't know what it is today. Something is up. We'll get that figured out at some point. Air Force 5-0, 3-0 in conference play, and they're home. So if indicators are correct, they would say Air Force should have no problem. They're undefeated. They know how to win. However, keep in mind Wyoming just pulled off an upset against number 24, Fresno State, and they would love nothing more than to keep that up and end another team's undefeated streak. Chooch, will they be able to do that?
Yes. Wyoming's the better team here. I don't care what anyone says. They're the better team. I think they play better competition. I think they've shown better poise. That being said, you're walking into the Air Force Academy, which is a tough place to play in general. But Wyoming edges this one out. The Cowboys are doing what they should have done last year, which is win the division or win their conference, I think. So I'm going to go Wyoming. I think they're in a strong roll right now. Go Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean Air Force, they're a really good team too. But I don't think they're quite as what's the word I'm trying to look for
Complete,
here? Complete, but
put together.
also battle tested. That's
There we
what I'm
go.
looking for. So Wyoming is definitely more battle tested. They're ready for a moment like this. I don't know if Air Force is, and I honestly think that is the biggest reason why Wyoming ends up winning this one here today. Well, Saturday again. What is it today? But yeah, give me the Cowboys. All right, next one here. We got an SEC East battle. Missouri and Kentucky. Whew. I would hate to be in the locker room to hear either of these coaches talking to their team after last week's game. More so Mark Stoops and Kentucky, as they got absolutely harmed by Georgia, and Missouri a tough loss to LSU, losing by 10. Somebody needs to win here, Chooch. Somebody needs to keep battling for that East. Who is the one that is going to give Georgia somewhat of a scare in terms of record?
I would say Kentucky, but they already lost to Georgia. And I would say Mizzou, but I don't think they're going to beat Georgia when they play them. So I'm going to take Kentucky in this one. I think Mizzou just falls a little short here. I think Kentucky is more battle tested for this. Leary is ready to do his thing. Um, yeah, I'm taking the Wildcats here.
Oh man, I'm gonna go the opposite side here. I think that loss to LSU motivates this Missouri team, especially losing the ranking. I think Eli Drinkowitz's team's message was, all right, guys, listen, we did way better than anybody thought we were gonna do in terms of this year, and we still got a long way to go, and we're still in contention for the East. So I think this is going to be enough to motivate this Missouri team. And I think they clean up on some of their errors, especially the picks. I don't think Cook throws one pick this game. So give me the Tigers. All right, next game here, we're going for an age-old rivalry, USC and Notre Dame. This is a rivalry that your grandparents might have been talking about. It goes that long. And if you remember correctly, when we were doing the preseason outlook, this is a game I circled. I said, hey, watch out for this game. It's going to be fun this year. And I think we're pretty close to that. USC 6-0 with a struggle win against Arizona. Notre Dame, another loss on the season as they lost to Louisville, but it wasn't a blowout. It was a close game, and then it turned into a blowout. So if you watch the stats, you're obviously like, no, game was well over. But if you watched it, you're like, man, this Notre Dame team, they got fight. They can come back and potentially pull this one out, and it's at South Bend. As a matter of fact, the USC coaching staff was practicing with the punt returners and spraying water on them during the kicks to try and get them ready for a potential rain game, which you don't see much in California.
They weren't really using water. It was kind of like, hey, we're going to stand 20 feet away from you. Here's this pole with some water on it here. Okay.
Well, yeah, try
That's
to
all it
get.
was. It was an awful imitation. Oh, it's going to be a little damp. Boys, it's the Midwest. It's going to be soaked.
Oh yeah, that is a better terminology for that moment. So Chooch, Notre Dame has a history of coming back and winning a game after a loss. Will that streak continue against USC? We got to see that earlier when they lost to Ohio State.
So the big questions are, did Notre Dame learn from that Ohio State loss? Secondly, I'm going to bring this in here. Lincoln Riley is a top 50, is always going to have a top 15 team in terms of a put together team. If he had a defense, he'd always have a top 4 team. So, with that being said, I'm going to take Notre Dame in this one because I think the defense can actually hang with this USC offense. I think they have experience in games like this more, and USC's got a lot wrong, and Lincoln Riley's going to realize you need a defense to win in the Big Ten. And I'm not saying Notre Dame's a Big Ten team, but they play them more than USC will. So USC, this is kind of your wake up call of what to expect. So I'm taking Notre Dame in a close one. Irish.
Wow. Okay, so we're really different here. I mean, we're picking the same team. I'm going Notre Dame too, but the reasoning is a little different. USC, you struggled with Arizona. I mean, Arizona's not bad, but they should not be giving you guys a heart attack.
Not the Citadel.
No, they're not the Citadel. Um, and for that reason, I think Notre Dame wins. Sam Howell is going to, oh my gosh, wow. What's the quarterback? I can't think
Sam
of it.
Hartman.
Sam Hartman, thank you. Oh my god.
We're doing great today.
Yeah, clip this, please, somebody. Sam Howell is back in college.
Not even the right school, Cole.
No, he's back. He's Notre Dame now. He transferred.
Oh god.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Oh,
Sam
man.
Hartman leads this team to a win. Not Sam Howell. He's at Washington, so we're leaving that there. Um and he rallies the troops, and I think this Notre Dame team answers the call and wins. So give me Notre Dame. I'm gonna stop talking now. All right, next one here: UCLA and Oregon State, Pac-12 battle, and let's just say expectations are pretty high now for UCLA after that win a week ago when not too many people thought that that was a possibility and kind of thought, they might play close, they'll probably end up losing. They won. But they go into Corvallis, and Corvallis has been a tough place to play this year for whatever reason. They just seem to know what to do at home. Their only loss was a road game against Washington State. Chooch, where you going? It's kind of a even, nifty matchup.
You may think it is, but on paper, this game says UCLA all day. The defense is better. I mean, statistically, this game's better. The UCLA. Oh my lord, have mercy on our souls. The Bruins are a better team than the Beavers. So, listen, I want Oregon State to win this one in Corvallis just because it makes the game later in the year against Oregon so much more fun. But at the end of the day, the UClaw Bruins are coming in. They're going to do their bear things against these Beavers, tear up some logs, eat some honey, maybe. I'm taking the Bruins.
All right. I'm gonna say Oregon State first and foremost. I love this team. I love the run game. Ugandale seems to be playing better, but they are not ready for Chip Kelly and this team. UCLA, they when they lost in the season to Utah, some folks were even phoning it in for them. Uh, but I think that it shows the progression that this team has coming back, beating Washington State, and I think that they continue this momentum shift and get a big win in Corvallis. All right, next game here, NC State and Duke, and it's kind of unclear if Riley Leonard will play, so that is something to keep in mind while making your pick. NC State, as I mentioned, came off of a huge win against Marshall, huge in terms of at least morale going in the right way. And their losses, they haven't been too bad. They got beat by Notre Dame by 45-24, so that one hurt a little bit more. But then they come back and almost beat Louisville. They had them on the ropes for a majority of that game, and then Louisville was able to pull it out late. Duke, on the other hand, their loss also, ironically enough, coming from Notre Dame. That was 2 weeks ago. So this team needs to bounce back, and they have the tools to do it. But the question is, Chooch, will they do it? Duke is a 3-point favorite. What do you think?
Duke wins if Riley Leonard is in. I don't think quarterback play from NC State's good enough, and this Duke team's kind of magical on defense. They kind of make things happen. But if Riley Leonard doesn't play, it will be redshirt freshman Henry Berlin the fourth playing for his first career start for the Blue Devils. With that being said, I like everything Duke does. The passing game for NC State's getting better now that Brennan Armstrong isn't the starter in Wolfpack anymore. Depressing to say, but I just like what Duke does better. The defense is fantastic. I'm taking the Blue Devils in a close one.
So, since words have not been my strong suit on the show, I'm going to keep it nice, short, and sweet. Duke is at home. Duke is ranked. Duke has the better all around team. Duke wins. That's as simple as I can make it. So, yeah, give me the Blue Devils. All right, and then now to the game that you folks have been waiting for, the Oregon Ducks go on the road to take on the Washington Huskies. Huge national implications, huge Pac-12 implications, a lot of writing in on this game. Michael Penix, the starting quarterback of Washington, has had a pretty good year. Safe with the ball, explosive offense, and like I said, has not lost yet. Oregon, on the other hand, a pretty good quarterback in their own right. Bo Nix. I'm sure you've heard that name a few times. He used to be at Auburn, transferred to Oregon, been up and down all his career. Finally seems to be setting in, but him in big games is very iffy. He's either really good or really awful. And if you're an Oregon fan, obviously you're going, come on, Bo, we need this one. We need you to step up and be the quarterback that you are meant to be. This is going to be a duel, a big old-fashioned Pac-12 game, probably a lot of points. The lines say so anyways. 67 is the over-under in this game. Since it is in the Husky Stadium, Washington's a 3-point favorite. Chooch, will Washington send their crowd home happy, or will the Ducks storm the Washington Stadium and plant that O flag in the middle?
I don't. I don't know who to pick. Washington. This is one of the funnest games every year. Also, did you know? Fun fact: for the first time in the rivalry, this is the first time both teams have been ranked in the top 10.
I did not know that.
This is the first time in this long time rivalry, and these two schools put on a hell of a show every time. When Washington's supposed to win, they lose. When Oregon's supposed to blow them out, they lose. But with that being said, I think Oregon's defense is a little too much for Washington's offense. Yeah, this game's going to be a blast to watch, but I think Bo Nix is on a different level this year. I think Oregon kind of reached in a little bit further and did the untapping of the hidden potential thing with him. So I'm taking the Ducks in a very close game. Put them up.
I love it. Well, let's look at the facts here. Washington is a great team, and Oregon is a great team. Washington, their main way of doing things is through the air. 464 is the average per game for them in the air. The rushing offense, 123 average per game. Oregon, on the other hand, they're a little bit more well balanced. 330.6 in the air and 227.2 on the ground. But Washington's home and they're primed for a big game like this. They got a Husky as a mascot, for God's sake. I mean, how could you hate a Husky? I don't know. I love the Huskies. Love that team. Love the purple. Forget about it. I'm going with Oregon in this one. Bo Nix, this is his year. This is his time to seek it out. This is the time. Oregon's been waiting for another national title shot since 2010 when they lost to Cam Newton. This could be that year. This team's exciting, and I know I picked Washington to win the Big 12. That was then. This is now. Nothing stopping Oregon. And also for you, Garrett, wherever you are, if you see this pick is for you. I know you're a Ducks fan. Go Ducks. And that is going to wrap up this show. Thank you all for joining so much. Really do appreciate it. It's so much fun to be able to get to do this. So, again, I cannot state how much that means to all of us. I know Jacob would say the same thing if he were here. Get better, buddy, again.
Yep.
So let's close out as we always do. God bless you all in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Have a beautiful, blessed rest of your day. Enjoy your college football Saturday. I know I will.
Yep. And this is JCP. We're out.